you're right, it does require a difference. It does require the understanding that we do need to invest in our students and in our population to make it pay off in the long run. Okay? And that's something we need to be more creative about. Here's the bad news for me. The bad news is, and for everybody else, the bad news is that the students now are going to be the generation making decisions for the rest of the 21st century. So we need to invest in making sure that we're giving them the right grounding and the right support and the right training to do so, politically as well as economically. And the two are connected. To be unaware politically is a major concern and a major problem for those of us who will be, on the wrong side of the bedpan in just a few years. So here's the thing. So I said, okay, what else matters? Environment. Is Canada doing enough for the environment? Are we number one? Are we up there defending the world from the scourges of global warming? Now, strangely enough, that was the consensus opinion. No, we're not. And I'd say, what can we do? And there'd be a sort of, momentary pause, and they'd say, well, maybe you should be more concerted about, recycling and stuff like that. Good. I said, were you aware that we're going to have an incinerator built in Clarington, which I'm sure would purify the air even greater than it already is? And they said, half of them said no, half of them said yes. So, okay. Were you aware that we're going to have a corn-based ethanol plant built in the harbour? Is that a good thing? Will it make it once more the beautiful playground of the rich and famous down at Marshall Harbour? And they said, no, I had no idea. I said, okay, what do you do? This guy says, I'm in energy and engineering. I said, that's interesting. Tell me about corn-based ethanol. Is that the way to go? Just out of curiosity from what you've been learning. Absolutely not, he said. Absolutely not. It's a disaster both from an energy perspective and ecological perspective. I said, and yet they're going to build it here. And they're touting it as being environmentally sensitive and economically viable. What do you think of that? He said, it's disgusting. It's a disgrace. I said, okay, you're learning that, but you're not applying that in terms of bringing forward an argument of concern. And that brings me to the bigger point. Many students feel either disinterested or apathetic. They have apathy towards the issue. Why? Why do people feel apathy? People usually feel apathy if it doesn't connect. In other words, it doesn't make sense. Why should I be involved? It doesn't affect me. And even if it did, there's nothing I can do about it. Okay? Well, here, I'm here, I hope, to try and instill a little different thinking. That actually it does matter what you think, and you have a surprising amount of power. In the last few elections in this region, and indeed across the country, many elections have been decided by 500 votes or less, as in terms of who wins. Now maybe you say to yourself, yeah, but there are a bunch of pointless or windbags. It doesn't really matter to me if a Conservative guy or a Liberal or an NDP wins anyway. Well, I think it might, if you look at the track records of those parties closely. So that's number one. If 500 votes can swing a riding, and there's a body of students who live in a riding, you can change an outcome. So maybe you should start considering what's on the table and who's offering what that's relevant both to you and to Canada. So here's the point. One of the points I'm trying to make is you got power. One of the points I'm trying to make is you can make a difference. One of the points I'm going to make is stop thinking of yourselves as being unimportant. Look at politics not as being some impossibly difficult idea. It isn't. Politics is no more and no less than the style and the construction of how you govern a society. That's it. It's not really that complicated. It's how you raise money, and it's what you do with the money. It's whether you have an ethos built on creating and retaining wealth for your own interests, or whether you have the idea that you should create and retain wealth and then do something constructive in terms of social policy, i.e. housing, education, poverty, environment. It's finding the balance. And I would say, humbly say, that this current Conservative government doesn't have the right balance.